Certainly pleased with our play this past weekend. I thought Friday night, as I told the team prior to the game, that we had a good week of practice. We had good prep. Energy level was really high and came out and capitalized on a couple opportunities in the first period, and consistently played the way we wanted to play for the 3 periods and the 60 minutes Friday night. And team was excited after the game. I congratulated them. It's tough to win championships, especially league championship, because it takes a big commitment on a lot of people's parts, especially the players. It takes being consistent throughout the entire season and making yourself better individually and collectively as a group, trying to strengthen yourself every weekend. And with the young team, it was very complimentary to the group because they were able to do a lot of those things and were able to solidify the title Friday night. And Saturday's game was equally as well. It was a little bit lower octane game. Both teams were a little bit tired, I think, from the game on Friday, but we found a way in the third period to score a couple power play goals, gave ourselves an opportunity to win, and then ended up winning in a shootout. So sitting on the bus coming home, a lot of smiles on our players' faces.
And you talked about the appreciation for one regular season championship, but 3 in a row. What level of accomplishment is that to you, in your mind, to have that level of consistency over a few years now?
To be honest, I haven't thought about it much. Trying to figure out what we need to do in practice today and our prep getting ready for Minnesota this weekend. I think, every year it's going to be a little bit different just because of the kids you graduate and then the incoming freshmen that you have on the team. And so I think as coaches, especially myself, you don't really think about the things, as you mentioned in your question, probably until you retire or maybe at the end of the season and you have a moment to reflect on it. But to me, it's more about the players and what they want to do collectively and how they go about their business daily, individually, and then the chemistry within the group. And, if kids are willing to put in the time and make the commitment, and ours really starts in the middle of the summer when a lot of them come back for summer school and start the strength training program and doing some of the on-ice stuff to try to improve themselves and prepare for the season. And then it's just long grind, being a 2-semester sport, especially the first semester this year where we played the most games we've ever played. You don't know what's going to happen with your young players, but for all of them, whether they played a lot in every game or played a little bit in some games, they all made a contribution, and they all need to be complimented because they're the ones that ultimately have to go on the ice and execute.
Are you peaking as the playoffs approach, or is there still some there, Mark?
No, I think we're limping right now. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we've had some injuries the last 3 or 4 weekends. Kids have missed playing time. No different than Friday night. Sophia Shaver blocked a shot and wasn't able to play the third period. We didn't know if she was going to play Saturday night. A couple other kids, but that's part of the process of playing the sport we play. You never know when they're going to happen. They're just, if you don't get any injuries over the course of the season, you knock on wood and be thankful for that. But you don't have too many seasons, so we're trying to get to the finish line. Saturday afternoon, and the nice thing about winning the league championship this year, and I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but you get a weekend off. And normally we've had to play that first round of playoffs, but with North Dakota not being in the league and only having 7 teams, the team that won the championship is going to get a bye weekend. And I'm looking at as a real good thing because we might be able to get a couple players back for the following weekend. And so to answer your question, I sort of look at it as we're limping right now. I'm trying to manage energy and trying to manage, getting the kids ready for this weekend.
Your senior group has had some changes. This year's group's had some changes along the way. Obviously, you have a couple people that were in Olympic camps this year, and you had an addition with Claudia. Is there anything that connects them all, that defines them all as seniors, as you kind of honor them this weekend in their last home regular season series?
Well, I mean, if you looked at them collectively as a group, each one of them has their own little story on how they became a Badger. And, you look at Bailey, and I think I first saw her play and got to know her when she was, I want to say, 6 or 7 in one of our camps. And, her connection with Tony and, her willingness to want to be a Badger at a real young age, and then having a very successful career and, being one of our captains. I look at Claudia. I knew her at a real young age and watched her develop. And a couple of my sons have coached her when she was growing up, and, chose to go to Ohio State and, scored a lot of goals down there. But for, reasons that life happens, and, decided to make a decision to come back and play for us. And, being one of our captains, I think speaks volumes for her character and, the way she's able to support her teammates. And Lauren Williams, very similar type of story, came in and wanted an opportunity and made the most of it and has had a real good career. The tough thing is you got a couple kids within that class that, are sitting out this year. One's, I think, playing today over in Korea, and the other one was hoping to get an opportunity to play there too. But, they're all great friends. You hope they enjoyed their experience here. Certainly have great memories leaving. So when we are finished at the end of the year and they reflect on their careers, I think it's going to be a big, opportunity for them to smile and really enjoy having been a Badger for 4 years.
You always get the best out from Minnesota, but they've got a lot on the line here this weekend, don't they?
Yep. You get down to the end of the season, the last couple of weekends, depending on where you are in the standings, where you are in the RPIs over the NCAA picture. They got a lot to play for, and as we've seen most of the year, when we play these other teams, we're getting the best out of them. And so, and history tells us, the 15 years we've competed against each other since I've been coaching here on the women's side, most of the games are exciting, a bunch of them going to overtime. Last year we were in a similar situation. I think both games ended up in a tie up in Minneapolis. And so they'll come in here, we'll have a full house. It'll be entertaining hockey.
Both of your teams, yours and Minnesota, have been impacted by the Olympics being this year and players that would be on your team not being. Is there any comparison? Do you feel like your team's more impacted by that, or their team maybe? How do you look at that?
Well, I think both teams certainly are. The 3 players that they're missing. 2 looked like they were going to make the Canadian team, but were last-minute cuts. And we've got one playing for the U.S. Impact players. Difference makers. If you have those on the ice with you and you have them with the entire season and they stay healthy, gives you a real good opportunity to win a lot more hockey games. And so, both teams are missing quality players, but I learned a long time ago that's part of our business, and you just have to deal with it, and you have to project it, and you hope your projections are correct as you shift scholarships around and move kids in and bring kids in at certain times. And so it is what it is. You're just happy for those kids that get that opportunity to represent their countries, because in our sport, it's the top of the mountain for them. And so, in the next 10 days, there's going to be some smiles on a few of our players, and there's going to be disappointment on a few of our players, but that's all part of the process of being an Olympic athlete.
Yeah, the U.S. and Canada are going to play on Wednesday. You've been a part of that rivalry before, and you know how it's affected the young ladies on the U.S. squad after coming up short the last couple of years. Just from afar, do you think they have the right mindset to get the job done this year?
Certainly, yeah. Both teams prepare. That's the nice thing about centralizing both groups, is that both teams are playing at a real high level at this time. They've had 6 months to prepare. Both teams have veteran players. Certainly, U.S. players that were disappointed in 2014. They've been thinking about this for 4 years, and so knowing some of those players, having coached them here, you hope they meet their goal. And obviously the goal for the U.S. players is to win the gold medal, and I'm certainly excited to watch a game and hope it's a good game. And for our players on the U.S. side, you hope they are able to get over the hump. I mean, it's been close the last couple times around, and they've come up a little bit short, but their dedication, their determination might push them over the top this year.